Alright, so today you're coming along with me to do some car photography at DB Motors. Since we're only doing photo today, there's one bag for the light stands and the other one has camera gear and flashes. It can get a lot more hefty when I'm also doing videos, so today's a little bit easier. Alright, so let's head into DB Motors and get started. Just walking past the showroom section here, where there's a few cars parked, and then through the workshop area there's Tim. Through a photographer's point of view. And here we are in the studio space. So unpacking the bags. First we've got my light stands. This one's probably too large, to be honest, for what I'm doing here. These other silver newer ones are ideal. I would go for those because of their ability to hold the flashes well enough, but also be light enough and easy enough to port around. These are the Godox 8600. I've got a mixture of the new and the old ones. I probably wouldn't recommend the new ones. I don't think they're that great. I think the old ones are just fine. In fact, they last a bit longer. Yeah, just a bit of a cough, but otherwise decent. Move back to Adelaide.
You were going to be in today, mate, so I flew over last night.
Well, I mean, that's a decent investment. So it's the first car we're photoing, or?
It's just somebody looking at it,
Oh.
and I'll just plus this GLE.
Okay. What's going on?
Paradise?
Another day in paradise.
When I wake up, it's a fucking good day. Regardless of what's going on, as long as I wake up.
That is the outlook to have.
You know what I mean? You know, it's bad.
Alright, so just positioning these flashes all about the place. Usually you have 3 against the back wall, 1 at each corner, 1 in the center, and they're typically running at full power. I just need that much juice for this space to really be able to have a decent f-stop and also a decent shutter speed, so I can hand hold it and not have to worry about the time consuming nature of using tripods. So yeah, it's a mixture between the AD600s and the AD200s. Just refers to the wattage of the actual flash itself. Here just having a chat with Scott about the DJI camera that I'm wearing today for this behind the scenes point of view video on the Ulanzi neck mount. And I must say it's done a very good job in terms of stabilization. I haven't added anything at all in post, and the colors are decent enough. You know, if you shoot in the D-Log-M format, which I've shot in, you can do a little bit of post-processing. There's some latitude there. I don't think it's as raw as something like a Sony S-Log or RAW itself, but you've got some room to move. But these professional cameras use that for the main stuff. Yeah. The 2 little AD200s, and they're on these little Ulanzi stands, which pack down really small, so it makes it nice and convenient. I can leave it all connected, leave it all screwed on, because honestly the amount of time that it takes to do all that, it's just not worth it. So if I can get things kind of partially assembled before I get there, it saves a lot of time, especially with video stuff. I try to even have my gimbal completely assembled and ready to go, and I just a lot of times sit it in the passenger seat with me, because you know, it can save 15-20 minutes with that. Anyway, back to the AD200s. Those, I started actually doing car photography with 2 of those, which probably isn't enough, especially in a large space like this. But where I started, it wasn't as big, so we got the job done. But now they're mostly for the background and the side angles, the 3/4 angles, just to light up the front and rear when it's on those angles. So yeah, a total of 5 flashes, 2 of the AD200s, 3 AD600s. One of those 3 is the newer one. I've actually just brought out this small rig Hawk Lock side handle. It's one of their newer models, which I actually have bought for video work, for the handheld stuff when I'm under the cars doing the workshop videos, which a gimbal is just not really ideal for that situation. But I thought I'd try it with photography, and you know what, after using it on this day, I'm pretty much going to use it every time now. It's just a much more natural way to hold the camera. It's really, you can quickly adjust the angle of it, so you can get on these strange angles and have a better hold of the camera, which means you can actually shoot at a lower shutter speed as well, because you can hold it more stable. But not just that, it's when you've got a 24-70, it's a heavy lens, and you know, you're gonna, after hours of holding a camera in weird positions like you're doing yoga with it, you know, you're gonna put a lot of strain on your wrist and all that. This completely alleviates that. After using this all day, I felt zero fatigue at all. It was pretty impressive. So I'm gonna be using that little small rig handle for everything from now on, so that's pretty great. Here, just having a chat with Joe, who's actually selling a Ferrari as we speak. There's a nice couple that actually just picked up their first Ferrari, so it was nice to hear them have that little chat while I was getting set up. All right, so the 355's just turned up after having a clean across the road at the car wash. Here I am putting the DB plates on the car, which is something I almost always forget. Can be a real hassle when you've got cars with a curved front. You'll notice that one of them has a bit of a bend in it, but anyway. And then straight into it, adjusting the polarizer filter there to get some of the reflections controlled. And just that quickly, boom, got the first photo. All right, so I'm closing this roller door because that blue light and the reflection of all the cars outside actually spills in and it shows up on the bodywork. The other issue is, see those lights in the roof? As they're on, they create big white blobs on the car, and that's incredibly difficult to retouch and remove. So what I'm doing now, I don't do this for every car, but for this Ferrari I've decided to do it, is I'll switch off the lights. Even though that's the case, you're still going to get those white panels turn up on the bodywork because they act like white cards in product photography. It's going to bounce light. The difference is that it's kind of transparent, so you can still see what's underneath it, and you'll be able to remove it a lot more easily than if those lights were on. It also allows me to control more of the space with my flashes because I'm not competing with those ambient lights. So that gives me that cleaner, smoother sort of end result. So obviously there's a lot of post-processing work that I do here. Anywhere a car goes, it's going to leave tire marks and fluids and all sorts of stuff, you know, that's the nature of the game. So until I can convince Tim to paint the floor black, I'm going to be doing a lot of post-processing to sort of clean up the floor and try and just match it to the white wall in the background. Gives it a bit of a studio look. Pretty much the most difficult challenge with that is keeping it looking natural, which you know, is very hard, but it's all about the shadow that the car leaves, that casts on the ground. So you need to keep that in mind when you're processing the images. So in terms of the gear I'm using, this is a Sony a7R5, got a Sigma 24-70 2.8 art lens. And that's the combo that I use for car photography 90% of the time. I used to have, you know, G Master 135mm and all these primes and yada yada. And, you know, they're all right, but in a fast-paced environment like this, you know, I'm trying to knock out these photos an hour max, usually less. An hour for something nicer like this, for your sort of routine Mercedes C250 or something like that, maybe 30 or 40 minutes. Typically about 30 photos, and I deliver them within 24 hours, typically, up to about 5 cars I could do within 24 hours. And so yeah, 30 images each. Flash triggers are Godox, flashes are Godox, light stands are a mixture of Newer and Ulanzi. And you know, the thing about light stands is I've got so many light stands at home because I've got a studio set up where I do product photography, and I've got the C stands and the big heavy stuff, and I've actually even bought carbon fiber stands purely for this. But I find that these Newers, which are actually stainless steel, are the perfect balance of rigidity, stability, and lightweight. So it's just a bonus that they're actually quite affordable. You probably get a pair of them for $60, which is really good value. They're really good quality as well. Okay. Okay, interior shots. For the interior shots, again, not always, but when I want to do a decent job of it, or if it's a black interior, which is more difficult to shoot, I'll usually bring the lights over to the car and set it up just for the interior shots, just because, you know, it's one of the hardest scenarios to do photography, and a black interior with very little lighting where you're trying to focus on details is not the best situation to be in. So if you can bring some lighting in, that's ideal. You can see here the sort of the restrictions of the space I'm in. I mean, to get these sort of hero shots, I'm sort of leaning over an old classic Mercedes and doing it that way. Moving the cars around in this space can be pretty challenging as well, especially that Rolls Royce that we recently shot. I mean, that thing was a boat, and to get it moved around in this space, I had to do 40 turns, you know, like just to get it lined up right. So here I am just reviewing everything that was shot. Looks all right. And that's pretty much it. The next big chunk of work comes in bringing it home, managing all the data, processing all the files, you know, cleaning everything up, exporting it, creating it in different formats for car sales, for social media, creating stories, and then bundling it all together, uploading it, and sending the links across to the client. So that's it. So the next video I make will probably be of me shooting an actual video, like the reviews that we do with Erica, or maybe even some of the other types of videos that we've got coming that we haven't released yet, so I won't mention what that is just now. But if there's something else you want to have a bit of insight on, then just drop a comment in the on the post, and I'll put it on the list of things to do. That's it. Catch you guys next time. Bye.